All right. Well, Rihanna, I just want to thank you so much for being here this morning and being willing. This was a pop-up here. So thank you for being willing to support the team. I know this is going to help a lot of people that, as we've transitioned a lot back to live. And I think that some people are like, oh, well, I don't sell as much on virtual. And I'm like, well, we sell a lot on virtual. I had one of my top reps, Jarrell from the Virgin Islands, who had sold over 50K before he ever did a live demo as well. Rihanna also has sold over $50,000 all virtually, and so there's some good stuff here. And so just so you guys know, so Rihanna, I know some of you guys met her at the event, heard about the job through the mail, graduated from Westfield High School and applied for the position. She didn't have a huge fast start, but just continued to do well, just be consistent, was promoted to assistant manager. And then she left to California, where she goes to school, and, studying music production. And so she had her classes, she has her nail business, she was working on music, working as an assistant manager in John's office, and just kicking butt, going through just with that consistency. She has over 3,000 referrals on her Vector Impact app, by the way. So not only like does a great job, and we'll talk about that connecting, because I know some people have a hard time online connecting as strong, and so they don't get as many referrals, or like they're not with the people to do the app. And the fact is, it can be done, and we know that. And so I had asked her like, "Hey, can we interview you, so that people can hear a little bit more and be able to ask questions as well?" And so we'll start off, Rihanna, and we'll open up to questions for everybody. But I'd love to start off by just for you, the I guess mindset behind, like, as you're going into demos, and like what are some of the things that you see have maybe kept people from selling as much virtually, and what are things that you feel have helped you?
Yeah. But thank
Hold on. Turn your sound off. Mute you. Turn it all off. All right, go ahead, Rihanna.
Yes. Thank you, Kathy, for the introduction. Good morning, you guys. So one of the things I think, like with mindset, that it comes down to when you're doing a virtual demo is you gotta overdo it. You gotta be all up in the screen, right? You gotta be super excited. Oh my gosh, Miss Jones, I'm so excited, to show you this awesome set of Cutco today. You better hide your credit card. Make those jokes with them. Just have fun over the screen, right? And I think for me, a lot of the people in the Virgin Island, a lot of my customers, they are in the Virgin Islands, and I just love my people. So it's always like a genuine like interest. I'm always asking them questions, right? We're knowing to get three questions deep when we're building rapport, and also understand that rapport doesn't end after slide two, right? So keep asking them questions about food. Keep asking them questions about, Miss Jones, do you ever cut these things, right? And if they have the pieces, like I'll show them on the virtual, like, right, Miss Jones, look at this. This is the paring knife that we're gonna get to. I'm changing the slides. Like, this is the paring knife. And I'm showing it, putting it in the screen, things like that. But I think it just comes down to really emphasizing having fun. And you could be having the worst day ever, smile and raise your eyebrows. Okay, oh my God, I'm so excited for you to be here, right? Just have fun with it. I think that's what it comes down to when it's like virtually, and also understanding that like our target market, they're over the age of 30, right? They're married, they're homeowners. They might not be the most technologically advanced, and that's okay. But what you want to understand is to employ patience, right? Because a lot of the times they're like, a lot of people, whenever like they have to go get their phone fixed or whatever the case, they kind of rush them. They kind of make them feel rushed. Don't make your customer feel rushed. Take the extra time to be like, oh, you don't know how to, like, I've got an objection sometime where even when I'm on the phone, they're like, well, Rihanna, I don't really know how to set up the Google Meets. I've never used Google Meets before. I completely understand. It's completely okay, Miss Lorna. I'll show you how to log on to it through your app store. That's no problem. Oh, you don't remember your password? Okay, we could figure it out. I'll show you how to do it. Let's just make sure that we're hopping onto the Google Meets, things like that. And also another thing that I do is whenever, you know how when you put their names into the Vector Impact app, you put their email in and it sends them the link for them to log on to it. Instead of having them log on to that, what I do is I cut my screen in half, right? I have two tabs open, one window open on one side, another window on the other side. On the right side, I have my script. On the left side, I have Google Meets, my goal slides, and Google Meets, my goal slide, and Cutco orders. So instead of having them log on through the link that you send them in the email, I just share my screen for them so everything is in one place. So they don't have to like channel back and forth between Google Meets and Cutco orders. So that's like kind of some of the tips that I have, and kind of like the mindset going into it is just employ a lot of patience and over your use your nonverbals, just smile a lot and ask a lot of questions.
Okay, so I that's a great thing. So I know there's a lot of people that do virtual demos over the phone. What's
Mm.
your comment to that?
The same thing. Just keep smiling, smile really big because they can see it. Trust, believe it or not, even if it's kind of hard to say something enthusiastically and look sad. I am so excited to be here right now. I am so excited to be here right now, right? When you change the nonverbals, it just changes everything. So even if you're on the phone, just keep putting your head like, get excited, get excited, get excited. Just have those triggers so that whenever I used to do demos over the phone at first because I used to be nervous to get on Zoom or Google Meet. But then I started doing Google Meets because I like to be able to like see the people and interact with them. But just like sound enthusiastic. Like if you have to stand up and do your demo, do that if that's what's gonna help you to sound a little bit more like hyped and pumped to be there.
For sure. I love that. And here's something I will say, guys, from years of experience, the phone is the hardest because you're losing the nonverbal communication. And over half of communication is nonverbal.
Hmm.
So you're setting it up that you have to be even more enthusiastic, even more like they've got to hear it. You've got to make up for the nonverbal with tonality, And so whether that's diction, speed, loud, like loudness levels, like all of these, like pitch, all these things that you have to now make up for and make those heightened to cover the fact that they can't see your face because I can be like, oh my gosh, look at this, like, oh,
Hmm.
and they could just see it in my face and I don't have to talk loud and be like, ah, la, la, you could just, especially for those who are more quiet, more introverted,
Hmm.
the camera will help you a lot for virtual demos, being able to be like, oh, Miss Susie, oh, wait till you see this. Like, this is really cool. And like using those eyebrows, using those expressions can do a lot for your communication because, the in-person is the easiest because it's the easiest to engage. The next is video, and you can do a lot as long as you're on video and they're there with you and you're like, oh, look at this, and going through and you keep them involved. It's like you're there in front of them, right? Except they don't get to touch the product, but it doesn't really matter. People shop online all the time, and we'll talk about that. And then on the phone, the fact is, on the phone you might run into people like me, and if I'm on the phone, I'm definitely doing something else. Like I am not sitting at my computer though. I'm like, okay. I'm listening to you so you could do your presentation while I'm folding laundry or like I'm running errands. Like, and those people are out there. Like we are typing, we have a bunch of stuff going on, and it's like, sure, I'll help you, whatever. And I'll be on the phone with you, and I'm not paying as much attention. Where if you were in front of me, I'm like fully there and present, or like on the computer. Even then, I might be checking some emails, but you'll capture me when you're like, oh, look at this, oh, check this out, or you're asking questions. And so let's transition to some of the engagement questions, like things you do to keep them involved, Rihanna. Um, I have because this is important. I want to talk about Rex. I want to talk about closing, right? Because you've dominated recommendations on your demos, and a lot of people have trouble with that. And I think you just said something great of like the patience with walking them through like the actual app. And so I want to talk about them, like where do we go from here? So many good things. But as far as for somebody who says like, oh well, people like they just they don't buy. There's people that believe, and I've heard reps say like people don't buy as much on virtual demos than they do in person. What's your comment to that, and what do you
What do
think?
you? Husband.
Okay, sorry. Say it one more time. It kind of cut out.
Yeah, sorry, someone wasn't muted. So what would be your response to someone says people don't buy as much on virtual demos? Like than virtual. I mean, they don't do as much on virtual demos. And they have that belief in their head that people just don't buy as much on virtual demos than they do in person. What's your comment to that? And what are some things that like tips on that you think make a difference?
Absolutely. I think it is just like you said, like people online shop all the time. They're always online shopping. Even our world, I think we're going into a more technological world, like with the advancement of AI and ChatGPT and all these things. So it's kind of like learning how to adapt to that, right? You can, I completely agree. Doing it through the Google Meets is way better than over the phone because you actually get them really engaged into what you're doing with like using your like your nonverbals and things like that. But it just comes down to, for me, I use, like we always say, like facts tell, stories sell. So within my demos, whenever I'm showing them the different products, especially because a lot of the people are in the Virgin Islands, one of the stories I'll tell them is, when I'm showing them the butcher knife, I would be like, Miss Jones or Miss Lorna, my auntie actually has this knife and she calls it her machete, right? And they start laughing. They're like, it does look like a machete. I'm like, yeah. And whenever we're in the kitchen, she'll be like, go on, pass me my machete, there we. And I know exactly which knife she means, so I just go ahead and grab it for her. That's kind of one of the stories that I tell them. And then that starts a whole conversation of, well, where's your auntie from? Because most of them, they're also from Dominica. So that's just like one of the examples of kind of like how, telling them a story through online or virtually, how that could keep them interested and engaged. So whenever you're going through like the specific names and uses and the pieces, either tell a story or ask a question. All throughout. Never just play the video and just leave it at that, right? Tell a story. Okay, like my aunt, she uses this knife all the time, to peel the apples or cut the tops of strawberries. Or I like to say this, even in training classes, any experience that you have with vector ever, you literally, even if you did just training in person, milk it. Tell them, oh yes, when I was in training, Miss Claudia passed me the butcher knife and she was like, yo, try this. And we tried the butcher knife and I was able to get right through that watermelon. My story that I tell all the time to build credibility for me actually being a part of Vector is going to the factory. I tell them about the factory all the time, all throughout the demo. Yes, Miss Lorna, when I went to the factory for that forever guarantee, I was seeing all the pieces that they brought back. There was even some knives attached to like a stove, and they get the knives back for free. I mean, they get your knife replaced for free. So just like keep them enrolled, keep them into the stories. It makes it more personal. And then you kind of drop, once you're asking them so much questions, they're really just having fun, it kind of drops the idea of seeing you as a salesperson and seeing you more of like, oh, I'm just helping my cousin, my little cousin out, right? My little nephew out, right? My little niece out, right? So things like that, I would think. Just telling them those stories, keeping them enrolled. And when it comes to upselling or getting bigger sets, I think for me, I still have a lot to improve when it comes to upselling and getting the bigger sets, honestly. But I think it just has to do with understanding, like Devin was speaking about this today earlier in Alliance, but kind of just telling them like the homemaker is the basic set, right? And building value for the other sets is the same way that you would do it in person. You're just doing it virtually, but a little bit more enthused, a little bit more, like interactive. So that's my response to that one.
And by the way, and even with that, her average order is still above, a little above average, 554 average order, with all virtual demos, right? And so, and we all know there's always areas of improvement, always ways for us to elevate. But I love that. What are some of the things that you feel impact the recommendations? Because that's another big thing I see all the time. People say, oh, well, it was virtual. I didn't get as many recs, so they're going to do it later. They had trouble with the app, or they had, whatever it is. And so how, for you getting referrals, I don't think that you'd say, oh, people don't give me recs because I'm virtual. So can you speak to that in terms of just overall, and then any tips you have to really maximize your demos with your recommendations from your virtual demos?
Absolutely. I think it would be just handling the objection. If they don't want to download the app, okay, completely understand, Miss Lorna. That's no problem. You can also send them to me in a text message as well through iMessage. Oh, okay, you don't want to send them through iMessage? I can write them down. I'm gonna make a list from like 1 to 30, and let's just see how many referrals we can get from there. I'll just write down their names and numbers, things like that. Never accepting the no, always getting the referrals. For me, I think that, the people from the Virgin Islands, they have a very strong sense of like, we have a very strong sense of nationalism and like helping each other out. So it's always like a lot, maybe not a lot easier, but I think if you just be personable, make them like you, right? Because you would invest in your friend more than you would invest than in some random person that you never met before. So just keeping it really personable, make them like you, show them that you're goal oriented. I go through my goal slides. I show them like the things that I'm working towards, like being a college student and, like trying to pay my way through school. And then at the very end, give them some time to refer. Like my biggest referral was his name was Pastor Vincent David, and he literally gave me the whole congregation. Okay, he literally sat there and select 167 people. And one of the things that I do in the very beginning to kind of plant that seed for referrals is I would tell them like, you know. Especially if I know that they know Pastor David, because a lot of them do, I'd be like, Miss Lorna, Pastor David just referred me to 167 people, and if you want to knock him off the leaderboard and take his number one spot, I will personally buy you a piece of Cutco just because of how like much it means to me. Like I'm very grateful for those referrals because they help me to connect with so many people across the Virgin Islands. And that's like all I really want to do, just connect with my people and, continue to do Cutco through college. So like explaining that to them, showing the gratitude, like I am grateful. We love people who can appreciate like what you appreciate. So if you tell them in the very beginning, like it means so much to me when for someone to refer to me to other people, then they're gonna get the understanding of like, oh, and you're gonna buy me a piece of free Cutco just for that. Okay, well, shoot, why not? I might as well just, share all of these people with you, right? And then you also assure them, this one at the very end, you also assure them like, Miss Jones, it's Miss Lorna. It's only me who's gonna be seeing the names on the list, not anyone else. But for that phrasing to kind of work, they have to like you because it's kind of like you're telling them to trust you, but you have to make sure that you're building
They
rapport.
feel they can trust you.
Yeah, right. They feel like they trust you all the way throughout the the presentation.
Yeah. And by the way, I want to make sure something doesn't get missed that Rihanna said. Did anyone catch when she's like, "Oh, hey, I'll just I'll list my paper here. You can just tell them to me right over the phone." What did she say? I'll just number it
1 to 30.
30.
Oh,
You guys catch that? So that's like a little drop, like it's little things that make a big difference in our business, is what you're gonna notice. It's not the big things, it's little things.
Mhm.
And so that little drop of like, oh, no worries. And what I used to say, and Rihanna, I don't know if you do, but I'm like, hey, if you want to just put your phone on speaker so you can just walk through. I actually have a pen and paper. And I love that she's like, I have it numbered 1 through 30, and we're just gonna see how many we can get, how many sponsors we can get, and have them read off names for you over the phone so you can write them down if they don't want to do the app or they don't want to submit through there. Because that's another thing that you handled already that we hear is, oh, they had trouble with the app or they don't feel comfortable downloading the app or putting their names. And great, you guys write them down. And then when you're done with the demo, you can put them into your app so you have them organized, for all your stuff. But you guys can do that, right? And so they can just give them to you right over the phone. It's a private app. No one sees it. I can't even see your people, by the way. Like I can't see their information, and I'm the division manager. Like no one can see that. It's a private app, and only whatever's connected to you, you're able to see the details of anything. All right. And so I'd love to, Brianna, any other things you want to share before I open it up for a couple minutes for some questions, so that people can actually ask any questions they have, and you guys think about what are things that would help you with your demos. In terms of closing sales, what are, this is my last question, is with sales. Let's talk about how you walk through, as you're walking through like names and uses, and any tips with closing, anything that you feel helps you close, because you do have a little bit above average order, and most people that do virtuals that I've seen usually have below average order. They might have a $300 to $400 average order, not almost a $600 average order. So if you can share any tips that you feel help you with your sales through your demo. Obviously, one of the things we've talked about in every part of this is just the rapport, right? And like, do they like you? Are they connected? Are you having fun with them? Another thing I heard Rihanna say is you all need to get accepted to go to New York so you can go to the factory and have those stories. Right.
Yeah, have stories.
It's pretty awesome to go up there and see everything and be able to share that with customers. That's for sure. But yeah, any other things that you feel help you, build value, build excitement, help you close on sets. What would you share on that?
Sure. So when it comes to closing, I would say to slow down. Slow down when you're speaking. That's something that we learned from you, Kathy, when you went through your presentation. Like, just make sure that you're slowing down. Don't speak too fast. It really starts when you're like talking about the competition. So Wusthof and Shun. I think that one is slide 9, if I'm not mistaken. But slide down right at slide 9 so that they're able to like really understand what you're saying. So when you start slowing down, it builds emphasis for every word, and they're like more like, and you can even like talk a little bit, you can change the level of your voice to be a little bit more less so that they're like leaning in to really hear what you're saying, right? When you're going through slide 9. And then when it comes to dropping down, just drop down really slowly. Call your manager to buy time. There's a science to it. You can, anytime you ask them for the order, just smile and nod and wait for a yes or a no. This is what Devin was talking about earlier today. Wait for a yes or a no. If they say anything other than that, if they say a statement, drink water or, buy time. Whatever you can do to buy time, do it. All right, Jacob did it. He just drank his water. Great. Yeah, so that's my that's my tips for kind of closing. Just go slow.
Cool. And then some of you guys have heard, and I talk about like when you guys are doing stuff and going slow, make sure you're writing down
That's right.
prices and like holding it up so they can write it down, right? That's part of the
Absolutely.
process of just like, hey, did you get that, Auntie? You have that down? Okay, cool. And then keep going. But like take your time as you're walking through to make sure they have it written down in an organized manner. So once you're actually asking for the order, it's clear because a confused mind doesn't buy. And so that's really important when you're going through. And Rihanna, would you say that you use more of the deposit close when you're closing on virtuals, or do you close regular? It's just kind of mixed depending on like how their energy is when you're closing.
I always use the deposit close. I have that one in my script.
Mhm.
I go through like the three options that they have, the three options that they can choose, whether that's to, try it out for for 3 weeks and then return it afterwards, or, like most of our customers, they love Cutco and they end up keeping it and then they can continue to use the 5 month interest-free easy pay option. So
Mhm.
I use the deposit close.
So by the way, for those who, some of you guys just learned this, some of you guys have known this, but some people call it the trial close. That's how I know the name of it, and or the deposit close because that's what it is. But it's a trial close. What you're saying is, hey, Miss Jones, you could pay for everything today, and especially on virtuals. I started adopting this to all of them, and I would recommend that because they haven't used the product yet. So just an easy way to make it more comfortable, especially if you do have a client that can afford more. Like, you don't want them to pay for a homemaker in full. I rather than put down a $700 deposit and try out a complete set, you know? And so utilizing the deposit and saying, hey, Miss Susie, obviously you could pay, like, here's the price. Once you give the price, you could pay for it all today. But most people, actually use our trial. We have a trial option where you can put down 100% refundable security deposit and just try out the product for 3 weeks, right? Obviously, you haven't gotten a chance to use them yet, but it gives you 3 weeks to use them, abuse them, make sure you love them, and then worst case scenario, you can send it back, you get 100% of your money back, right? Highly doubt that's going to happen. Everyone loves this stuff. And then there's two other options. One is call and pay the whole thing off, right? Or what the majority do is our easy pay, and it's interest free, and they just charge you the same amount each month. So you'd be putting aside about blank in the weekly budget, which comes out to this each. And then talk about buy now bonus, and you're like, hey, so Miss Susie, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask. Would you like to try out your Cutco? You could either pay in full, or just put that deposit so you can try it out for 3 weeks, see how you like it, and then make a decision. Right. So that is, if you're doing virtuals, I would always be using the trial close. I was wondering, if you mixed it up or whatever, but I would always use that because again, it's if nothing else, it's going to help you close bigger on bigger things because you're having a smaller amount they're putting down today, right? But
Yeah.
for those that are on the fence and they're like, oh, I haven't even got, like, you're handling before they say I haven't gotten to use it yet. You're saying it first. You're like, obviously you haven't had a chance to use the products. And so most people like to use our trial option because it gives you 3 weeks to try it out and just see how you like it, and then go from there. And they're like, okay, cool. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do the trial one. Let's do the 100% refundable deposit. I'd rather start there, right? It's just more comfortable and it's going to help you guys close on more options. So anything else you want to say there, Rihanna? And then, yeah, I want to open it up, Divine, Kayla, and anyone for questions with our virtual queen here. Again, $554 average order. I don't even know what average recommendations, a lot. Averages a crap ton of recommendations and, has done this all virtually. Questions for Rihanna? Yes, go ahead, Divine.
Sorry, I was trying to find the unmute button. I think what's like your top two biggest advice you would give to people that do this virtually? Because I do this virtually. I don't have a lot of family here, similar to you. I do have some, but I don't drive. So they either live like far away, and I'm like, I'm not about to be taking the bus from place to place. Like some places are not even accessible with a bus,
Right.
you know? So, what are your like top two, top three biggest advice like to give when being virtual? Because I think I tend to find that when I'm virtual, it can go both ways. Sometimes I can be confident, sometimes I get scared. Sometimes I find myself talking fast, but then I slow down and I'm like, okay, like just breathe. What are you doing? And I just get in my head and overthink it. And I think like what is an advice you can give to me to like conquer that?
Absolutely. I would say, like, before you get into your demos, just going with the mindset, I'm going to make this sale, I'm going to get all the referrals, and just build that confidence within yourself, right? So, like, even if you're having like a bad day or a phenomenal day, your customer should, because remember, it's like sales is always a transfer of energy. So, whatever you're doing on this side, your customer is going to feel, and they're going to feel it a lot more because, like, they can see you on the screen. So, just like I think it comes down to just being confident. You went through the training, you've done the thing, and just use any experiences that you've ever have, like within Cutco, whether that be in your training class, any stories. This is kind of like something that you can add on. Of course, like read the manual word for word, but any additional things that you can add in would just be to like share some stories that you've had. So it kind of like builds credibility for yourself. So those would be my two top tips. Just be confident, you got this. You can do it. I believe in you, right? Be confident. And then two would be to what's the second one? Be confident. And then to what was the second one? I forgot it.
I don't know. I said have fun. I know you have so
Have
much fun
fun.
together. You're just like, I'm just gonna have a good time. I think sometimes we overanalyze or overthink. We're so worried about like the end result
Mm,
versus the result is I'm gonna have fun and make them fall in love with me. Like I
right.
remember my manager used to, and then like my mentor, like in my first summer when I was going to the demo, they'd be like, look in the mirror right now, like in the like rear view mirror in the car, and they're like, be like, I'm gonna go be the highlight of their day. Like I'm Kathy Vasquez, and I'm gonna go be the highlight of their day. I'm like, their day's gonna be better before because they met me, and then
Mhm.
I would go into the house, right? And so like those little fun like pep talks, but it's like that's it. Like you're learning how to sell yourself, so it's about having fun and connecting with your customers. Don't worry about the product. You're gonna get to that. But if you really focus on like you want to make them fall in love with you and just like connect with them and share with them, like everything else is gonna fall into place. And some
Yeah.
are gonna buy and some are not. But you're gonna build a strong business with that. All right, for sure. So
Okay, one more question.
go for it.
So, so you said you cut food virtually?
No, I actually don't cut food virtually. I
No.
just show them the knives. I just put it all up in their screen like this. I'd be like, look, Miss Jones, this is the butcher knife right here. Oh my goodness. Raw handles. Look at this, right? I just play the videos and just show them that I have the
hmm
product because I think it just shows something that you have the product even though virtually. And
Okay.
then just sharing those stories. Yeah.
Okay, because I have a trimmer, so I just show them the trimmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Okay.
show trimmer.
And
Yeah,
even when
Okay.
you do the
say the
five
same.
features, you're like, oh, here you see the handle and
Mhm.
like showing it, but like they see you've used it. Be like, yeah, I got to use that one in the office. So like for those who haven't won everything, you can be like, oh
hmm
yeah, we were cutting at the office, like that one, like that spatula cut right through an apple. Be like, it has
hmm
the same edge, and like being able to share those stories are huge, And so I'd say too, if you guys haven't used much product, go to your office and use product. Tell your managers to do a cutting clinic. So you
Yeah.
stuff out. So tomorrow, at the office, like we'll have a cutting clinic here and anyone's welcome to come. If you want to see some of the different knives, just ask your managers and then see what contests you can set up to win more Cutco because it is definitely fun to have more product. But the more they see you've used it and now they know like it's more legit versus you're just like reading a script and you haven't even seen
Yeah.
it, which some salespeople do. You're selling from personal experience, which is different.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that because I used it yesterday and I was like, wait a minute, what? Like this is amazing. Like, and my friend saw me use it. She was like, dang, that's really good. Let me buy something. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I agree.
Awesome. I love it. Braden, did you have a question? Don't unmute there. Yep.
Um, One question I did have was like for recommendations, like you mentioned for the when you do it virtually, like if it's not working, that's just one issue that has happened a lot, especially like the past several demos where like they have the app, they're willing to they're willing to give recommendations like 20, 30, sometimes even 40, and then the app just doesn't work, and then I don't end up getting any recommendations. So do you have
Mm.
tips for that or suggestions?
Absolutely. I think the tip with that, because sometimes if the app doesn't work, like it wouldn't send them through, what you could do is also remember remain calm. Because I know it could be very frustrating. Like you just put 50 people in there and now I can't get them. Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Right? But all you have to do is just remain calm. Just be like, oh, it didn't go through, Miss Betty. Okay, no problem. What we can do is we can go, if you would open up your contacts on your phone. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and write like 1 to 30 or 1 to 40 or 1 to 50, however much you share with me, and I'll just manually write them down. And does it take a little bit more time to manually write them down? Yes, but those referrals, we always want more people to call. So it's definitely worth the time to just sit down there and write everybody's names out, put their numbers down. And or, well, yeah, you can do that, or you can add them inside of the app as well. Like if you go to Vector Impact app and then go to the bottom where, well, click on their name and then go scroll to the bottom, you press the little add button, you can add their names and their numbers through there as well.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for asking.
Again, you guys see the expectation of like, oh, I can number it 1 to 30 or 1 to 40, 1 to 50, whatever you're gonna give me. It's not like if you give me 10, like that's like not even like something we're talking about, you know? And so that shows your customers expectation that, and I've had customers that said like, oh wow, you get a lot of referrals, huh? I had a lady saying, I was like, yeah. She's like, oh wow, okay. Or like, oh, people buy a lot from you, huh? And I'm like, yeah. And just because they can feel that expectation and that confidence as you guys are talking to them. So I think that's really huge as well. Any other questions out there? We've got a couple more minutes that we can steal.
Taylor.
Hi. Yes, I just had one question.
Hi.
The biggest problem that I have with my family, we are such, hard workers and we're trying to get that money. So it will be hard for them to really sit down and take the time for that, especially my family members with kids. How do you get your people to sit down and be able to listen? Because I know whenever you are making your appointments and you're making those phone calls, you're having to tell them like, you don't have to buy anything, I'm just showing. So of course they already have in their mind that they're just supporting. How do you get them to be motivated enough to just sit down and like listen?
Absolutely. I think that comes with building urgency and being like, this is like, yes, everyone is busy, Miss Lorna. I am also trying to be just as busy as you. I have really big goals that I'm going after. I'm trying to, whatever your goals are, Kaylin, just really emphasize those goals to them, show them the importance of it, and show them how important it is for them to sit through this demo and help you out for 45 minutes. 45 minutes throughout their busy week. I like, and then also whenever they do sit through it, just like thank them, like thank you so much for, or even in the beginning, right? So you kind of just setting the tone, like thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I know you had a really busy schedule today, but I appreciate you for taking the time to sit down and do this demo with me right at the very beginning, so that they're not. So you've already thanked them, so they have it in their mind like, oh yeah, I am actually sitting down to do this presentation. Let me actually like give her my attention. So don't allow, them to say, oh, I'm just super busy. No, this is so important for me to like do anything. For me, I tie it to like music, I tie it to school, I tie it for paying my way through college. Whatever goals you have, you really want to make sure that you're emphasizing them and showing them the importance and building the urgency. Like, can we get a demo in today, either at 4 p.m. or 5:30 p.m.? Which one of those work best for you? Right? And if those times don't work, offer some more times. Okay, but never tell them I'm completely free. I got all the time in the world. No, but narrow those down to those two times. Which time works best for you? Okay. And also really big on at least confirming presentations to make sure that they like don't reschedule on you. You can also send a confirmation text through the app itself. When you text after you get off the phone with them, you can send a text message to them to confirm it. And also even when you're on the phone with them, you can tell them a sob story. This is one thing that is in Kathy's moneymaker script. You tell them a sob story. You know, Miss Lauren, I've had so many people reschedule on me this week, and I know you would never do this to me, but are you sure this time works 100% for you? Okay, it does. Thank you so much. It just means so much to me. It's really going to help me go after my goals, right? And then hang up the phone and send the confirmation text with the picture of your goal slide so that they know, like, yes, this is legit. I'm real. Like, we are going to sit through this together. Things like that. Does that answer your question? Is that helpful?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
And one of my guys years ago started doing always when they booked the demo too, they're like, I'm gonna be the highlight of your day, and making sure they knew that you were gonna have fun because
Mhm.
people do things in life based on fun and importance, right? And so, one thing Rihanna just talked about is the importance aspect, right? Do they know how important it is, like how hard you're working? Are you building urgency for that? Is important, right? And also, do they know they're going to have fun? Okay. Because people will reschedule important things in their life for fun things. And so they need to know that, it's important, you're working hard, it's going to help you, but also that you guys are going to have a good time. And so letting them know, like Tyler Tarr, one of my guys, like 20 years ago, he used to say, like, he's like, by the way, he's like, I'm gonna be the highlight of your day, Miss Jones. Are you ready for that? Or like, we're gonna have such a great time. And just think about like all the stressful things that can be in the course of a week and work and then the kids and this and that, and they can just like sit and laugh and smile and be inspired by somebody who's on a mission, and when they hear like what you're excited about, what you're working towards. Like human beings do get, like, we're wired to be part of a bigger whole. We're wired for contribution, we're wired for connection, we're wired for significance. Like those are parts of like the human like inner wiring. And so when they can feel important, like that they're actually really helping, when they see that it's something like worthwhile, they're like, oh wow, and like they get to be a part of that. That feels good, so how do you present it? How do you, is it just like, oh, help me? Or is it, hey, I'm working super hard for this, I'm so excited, like I can't wait to share it with you, I'm going to be the highlight of your day. And then going and having fun as you go through and share your goals and, why you're working and what you're excited about, how this is going to benefit you, people you've met here already. Like you can talk about Rihanna, you can talk about people who've like, people who've won scholarships with the company, people who've earned internships, like her running her own business. She wants to go into music production and using this as a stepping stone on like how to run her own business, handling back end details, all those things. And then I know Rihanna's going to be taking advantage of that straight 50 in a couple of weeks, making 50% commissions and just putting away money for school, for future investments, for, things that she'll need for her future business, which I think is pretty awesome. Do we have one last question before we wrap up here? One last question, anybody?
Would I be able to?
You can ask another question.
Um, One thing I was gonna ask, because I have noticed that when we're building rapport, especially in virtual demos, it's a lot different than in person because you don't have that face-to-face connection. And I was gonna ask you, like, what are some questions that you use, or what are some good ways that you get some really good rapport with your customers?
Love that.
Absolutely.
That's a great question, actually. I had that earlier. What are some of the questions you do give to keep, like, to connect with them and then to keep them engaged as you go throughout? Let's do that.
Right. So with the paring knife, you say, do you ever sometimes cut the tops off of strawberries, or do you ever like cut the bell peppers in your hand? Oh yeah, you do. Well, Miss Lorna, you're gonna love this knife. It's gonna make it so much easier to do those things in your hand. My grandma, she's always cutting things in her hand. I'm a little too scared to do that, but I know this is gonna work great for you. Okay. Then when it comes to the spatula spreader, you would say, Miss Lorna, I know that you have, your son, right? Be specific. I know you have your son. Does he ever sometimes make sandwiches, like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? Oh, he does? Okay, well, this is gonna be his favorite knife. Just make sure you tell him, don't lick the spatula because it does have that double D edge and it will cut him. So make sure that you tell him don't do that, okay? But this knife is gonna be his favorite piece. Or when it comes to like the petite, the master carving set, you would tell them, oh, like how many how many tires come in a car? They'll say 4. You'll say, no, it's 5, right? So you have the master carving set. This one, you won't use it every single day, but you'll be glad you have it, right? It's really good for whenever you're doing Thanksgiving. I know that you host a lot, Miss Lorna. This is gonna be great for when you have Thanksgiving. Even my aunt last Thanksgiving, before she got her set of Cutco, right? We were at the Thanksgiving dinner table, and the table was in the dining room, but there wasn't an outlet close to it. So here they go trying to plug in the carver to try to cut the turkey, and I'm just looking at them like, y'all better get some Cutco, right? So that you wouldn't have that problem. So then she ended up getting a set of Cutco. But it's, you just see, it just makes your life like so much easier, right? Because you just have the Cutco there to use it during Thanksgiving. So those are some of the like stories or questions that I would ask throughout. Or even what's another piece that we have? Or even the one with the onions, the petite chef knife. I would tell them, Miss Jones, like, what are some recipes? What are some recipes that you use when you're chopping up your instead of saying like the soup, salad, the 6 S's, I just ask them like, what are some recipes that you make whenever you chop up your onions or your pieces, right? What are some of the recipes that you make? Then they start talking about food. Oh yeah, I make like stew and things like that. So I'm like, oh, okay, you be cooking it up. I need to come by. You might get a plate of food, right? So things like that, and just making it really exciting for them. Ask them questions and then lean into whatever they're saying. Like follow-up questions could come with that too. But yeah, that's a great question. What kind of questions do you ask? Those are some that I ask.
Like it. And any things in the beginning, I know we're at like the buzzard before you have to go. Anything that you feel helps you build more rapport, like things you do to engage with them in the beginning. Any specific things that you think are really important or that you feel you do really well?
Yes, I would say really just getting 3 questions deep, but don't just ask like rapid fire questions. If they're telling you something, like come up closer to the camera. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay, like what did you do this weekend? Okay, really cool. You went to so and so with your friends. Okay, like do you guys go there often? Or like just follow through on that conversation and ask follow-ups from then. Don't ask them like, what did you do this weekend? Do you have pets? Are you doing this? That's kind of scary, right? Like what you asking me all this?
Like an interrogation.
Right, like an interrogation. But if you ask them the follow-up questions and you seem interested, like don't if you have to fake being interested, I think that's like just be genuine. Genuinely mean it, genuinely care, genuinely be interested in like what they have going on. Because chances are they probably don't even like people don't even ask them these questions, right? That's kind of you building and making yourself the highlight of their day, right? Talking about themselves because the truth is people love to talk about themselves. You just gotta ask them questions, right? Ask them questions and get 3 questions deep.
Heck yeah, I love it. Well, I know you've got an appointment right now, so thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.